Hey, I'm going to be making a rainbow trout marabou jig. So this is one that I made, and this was one I'm going to be making right now. So this year I've been catching some rainbow trout on rainbow trout imitation flies. So I thought, why not make a jig? So first thing I'm gonna do is get a black jig head. I just painted these tonight. So what do you want? What I do is I just buy the jig heads that have that on it. Could have bought the other ones that have the bear hook, but they're a little bit more expensive. So I just nip it off with a pair of cutters. Then I've got the eye hole I need to fix. So if you take the eye hole, if it's covered up with paint, you just crunch it. And then take that and kind of poke it, and voila, there's the eye hole. So let's do it. Using black thread. I don't know what it is. I got some fly tying stuff from my parents' house a couple weekends ago. Honestly, I think it's old sewing thread. So hey, it works. So why not use it? Okay, thread's on there. And what I do is I flip this over, and we're going to start with some black Marabou. So really the only materials for this is Marabou and Chanel. So just using some Marabou. Cut you off a piece. I like to cut it like that. That way you just work your way up and save a lot of material, and tie a lot of flies with what you got. So tie it upside down first. I tie it down on one side of the hook, and then on the other side of the hook. And cut off the extra. Wham, bam. Perfect. Okay, flip it back over. You got one layer on. Now we're gonna go with some olive Marabou. So I've got some olive Marabou right here. Find a nice feather, and we pluck it. I like to use a lot more olive than black, just because on a rainbow trout I feel like that's a better representation of the fish, because their backs are more green a lot of the times with the black speckles. So that's why I used the black on top, is to kind of imitate the speckles. And then I put the olive on, because the olive is more representation of their backs. And you just start tying it on. It's really pretty simple fly. You just use a lot of thread and a lot of Marabou. So pretty straightforward. The only thing you got to worry about is nothing. It's really pretty easy. Yeah. Keep tying it on, and I just look at it and be like, do I want more or less? I think one more piece will be good. Bam. Yeah, that's good. That's perfect. And yeah, Marabou jig, it's been around for a long time. People use these for catching steelhead. People use them a lot of times for catching trout, or smaller sizes for bass, or smaller sizes for crappie. I was using them this year to catch planters. They go crazy for the Marabou jig. It's actually a lot of fun jigging for trout. I know a lot of people don't do it, but and I've also heard of a lot of people fishing in river systems with Marabou jig. Yeah, and they're getting a lot more popular and have been popular in fishing for smallmouth bass. And I'm going to use these ones in the lakes going after big rainbows and also largemouth. I figure largemouth bass are going to go nuts for one of these things. Nice, easy meal. Oops. I'm supposed to go pink, then white. This happens when you start talking and get careless. Easy fix. Get some pink. Cut it the same way. Keep stacking on your Marabou. It's really pretty straightforward. And don't worry too much about adding bulk to the head with all this Marabou, and if it goes all the way down the back of the hook, I don't worry about it too much. I use Chanel at the end, so it's kind of a Chanel Marabou jig, which is totally fine. But I know a lot of people, they'll just use thread. They'll just use, the two materials will just be thread and Marabou, which I'm not that particular. I'll just throw some olive Chanel down at the end, which will actually, I don't know, I think it looks more like a trout with that Marabou Chanel. Yeah. Okay. Ouch. That's enough pink. Let's throw some white on there. And really, I mean, rainbow trout, they even sometimes have a little bit of blue. So, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to throw some blue Marabou in there, maybe even some blue flashy stuff. Anything. I mean, especially whenever you tie your own flies and jigs, really you can do whatever you want. And if it catches a fish, cool, tie more. If it doesn't catch any fish, strip the materials off and reuse the hook. I mean, pretty easy stuff. If it works, it works. If it don't, you'll know it. We're actually getting pretty close to being through with this fly. Try to clean it up. Made it a little messy. Okay. See, it's a little bit more white, and then we'll be golden. Yeah. I think one more piece of white will be good, and then we'll put the Chanel on, and then we'll be done with the Marabou jig. I think the jig I was using to catch all the planters this year was a olive jig with a red. Olive Marabou with a red, olive Marabou with a red jig, and then also a white jig with pink Marabou. Caught a lot of fish for me this year. And it's so much fun to cast those out and jig them back at, the top 5 feet of water, because those trout, they'll run up, they'll put it in their mouth, so whenever you go to jig it again, there'll be resistance, and you set the hook and you fish on. So yeah, we're done with all the marabou feathers. Now we've got to put some Chanel, and I've just got olive Chanel. I think olive looks good. You could use black, you could use whatever color he feels necessary. I mean, it's not really that much, that crucial in my opinion. I think a lot of times it's just if you get some of the right colors that's imitating something, it doesn't have to be exactly how the whatever you're imitating. I don't think it has to be exactly spot on. I think fish really aren't too particular, especially because a lot of times whenever something they're eating in front of them, it's kind of like, I better eat it now because it's leaving me, and if I don't go after it with all I've got, then I might miss out on my meal for today. And especially bait fish imitation, those big fish got to eat a lot to survive. So they see one of these things go by, they're gonna be all over it. Especially whenever you're jigging it, it's not swimming in a straight line, it's going up and down, up and down. So it acts as if a fish is wounded, and if you got a wounded fish, it's easy pickings. So yeah, wrap that Chanel all the way up to the jig head, tie her down. Boom. A few more wraps just to make it look a little bit more pretty. And then do like, I don't know, 5 half hitches or something, and then you're done. Add some glue or some head cement. It's ready to cast out and catch a big fish. I really hope these will catch me a bunch of largemouth bass this year. I live a mile from a lake that supposedly has got 4-pound bass in it. So I'm kind of excited for the temperature to start warming up, and I could get out there after work and try to catch a 4-pound bass. That would be pretty fun. But yeah. Boom. Got just some head cement here. I use a lot of head cement just because I hate it if a fly comes apart, which that doesn't happen. I think that happened a little bit when I was younger. I was careless. But yeah, I like to use a lot. Cool, and we're done. Fish this thing. You can fish it shallow in like I was saying, the top 5 feet of water, if that's where the fish are feeding, especially if it's like early morning, late at night, whenever the fish are more active. Or if you can see fish surface feeding, then you'd want to fish this a lot more shallow. But you could also fish it deep, like midday, whenever the fish are more holding on the bottom whenever the temperature is too warm. You can jig it through, and it's gonna be. Actually, I'll put that back on. And it's a jig, so it's gonna be riding in the water upside down, just like that. So yeah, right through the water just like that. Make sure the camera's on it. Yeah, and we're done. Hopefully you liked the video, hopefully you learned something, and if you have any questions you can leave a comment, and cool. Thanks for watching.